Are you the kind of person that lays in the bed with regret, feeling badly over maybe some of the things that you've done in your life? Or are you the kind of person that, you really don't think you've ever done anything bad in your life? Are you the type of person that has a tendency to want to redo your life so that you could do it better? Or are you the type of person that just would like to relive your life so everybody could treat you better? Well, we're going to talk about some of those things, forgiving yourself and being forgiven. Stay tuned. Well, hello again. This is number 9 on Vlogmas. And I have to admit, this has been quite a journey of discipline to try to get one of these done every day. But I've enjoyed it, and it's really allowed me to take another look at Christmas. And I just had a 2-hour phone session with my therapist, and if she's watching, I love her very much. So Christmas to me, as I see it now, is a story of love. It's a story of compassion. It's a story of giving. And I think before this year, I kind of missed that. I always loved decorating for Christmas, and of course I appreciated the story of Christmas, and I knew what it was all about and everything, but somehow or other the true meaning of it, I think, evaded me. And it's a story of charity and understanding. But today, when I was having my therapy session, I'm often recounting to my therapist how guilty I feel about things that I've done, and having a hard time forgiving myself for not knowing what I was doing, and and of course I've been with her for 2 years now, and she knows me pretty well, and she'll say, "Claire, you're a loving and kind person. You should not browbeat yourself. You need to forgive yourself," and all of this. But we know ourselves better than anybody does, right? And I recently, actually, had new awareness of more things to feel guilty about. Of course, I lay these at the feet of the one that was born on Christmas and can truly, truly forgive me. But sometimes it's hard to forgive yourself. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So let's talk about the story of Christmas. The beautiful Christ child born on Christmas Day. And what did he come to bring? He came to bring love, mercy, gentleness, and all of those great virtues that we so desperately need in this world today. I have been a person that has been pretty impatient with other people. A lot of this video is going to be confession time for me, so bear with me. And I'm doing it so that I can relate a message. I have often been intolerant, not in some of the typical ways you might think, but I was intolerant of people's weaknesses and intolerant of their lack of ability to have discipline or to be virtuous in some way or something, which is hilarious. But this came from, I know what it came from. It came from a childhood where there wasn't a lot of emphasis put on character building, and it came from going through long periods of what I'm going to call neglect. It wasn't neglect in the sense of starving or not having clothes to wear or anything like that, but a lack of communication, not being talked to, and being pretty much left dumb and stupid. And then at age 14, I went into a situation where it was harsh. It was brutal. There wasn't hardly any tolerance for failure. And I was treated good in certain senses and very roughly in other ways. So very early on in my life, I learned that if you're vulnerable, you're going to be punished. If you are sensitive, you're going to be put into shape. Weakness wasn't appreciated or tolerated. There wasn't a lot of room for being soft or sensitive. And being a kid and a person that was pretty sensitive and just hypersensitivity in itself, nobody knew what it was at the time. I was considered an oddball because I was autistic and I dyslexic and callexic and you know, just multiple things that nobody understood in that day and time. And you could be ostracized for being weak. So I took on the mentality of nobody should be weak. If you're weak, you're going to be eaten by the lions. And as you know, the hurt often become very hurtful. The hurt other people. I wanted, especially after I had children, I didn't want my children to be ever considered prey. I didn't want them ever to be considered weak. And oftentimes I thought that the best way to do that was to toughen them up. When I would see tenderness in people, I thought it was some kind of a trick to get attention. When I saw generosity, sweetness, congeniality, when I saw really loving outreach, I thought people were faking. I didn't think it was real. And I think in many ways, through the ways that I was treated, that it diminished the virtues that we should strive for, that we find in the story of Christ. When I would see people that seemed fragile, it almost made me angry because I was never allowed to be fragile. When I saw people that were sweet and smiling and oh hello and you know, just all those sweet things, I was hurt because I'm like, why are they being that way? You know, I couldn't believe in goodness, if that makes any sense. And I thought a person being all friendly and bubbly was faking. And of course they were faking to get something. You see how abuse can twist the mind of a person, especially a young person. When a person I loved cried or showed weakness, I was wanting to give them tough love. Get up, you're going to be trampled. Get up, you're going to be hurt. I had been taught the story of the Bible, the story of Christ, my whole life. But for some reason, the world put upon me that the way to get by was through tough love, manipulation, and I was never really willing to manipulate. So I instead fell into the grasp of forcing people, domineering, ruling, During the most brutal time of my life, I was forced to do things that were sometimes very painful. I learned austerity. I learned sacrificing. I learned suffering. And I decided that if I was going to have to suffer, that suffering would be my friend. And I got trapped in all of this negativity. Just this year, just in this past year, I have had my eyes opened. And I have realized how wrong all of that was. But in the process of finding out how wrong all of that was, my eyes have been open to all of the fragile people that I've hurt, all of the tender souls that I've pushed over the edge to be tough so that they wouldn't be prey. I am incredibly sorry. Broken people that needed tenderness, hurt people that needed to be loved. So many chances I've had to back up, support, and be there. And either I didn't believe in them because I thought they were faking, or for whatever reason, I failed to be there for them and support them. And I even made it worse. While my therapist thinks that I'm a fantastic person, at least she says she thinks so, and that I'm too hard on myself, I still lay in the bed and train all of my fails. And I could just lay in the bed and be thinking of how everyone has failed me. Everyone has hurt me. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not my father nor my mother, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's not my father nor my mother, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. And it goes on, brother and sister and other people. We can blame other people for who we became. We can blame other people for the things that we've suffered. And yes, humans cause other humans to suffer. Hurt people cause other people to hurt. But Jesus came so that we could forgive and be forgiven. And that's what the story of Christmas is about. The Bible says, and I'm not a teacher of the Bible, I just know a little bit of the Bible. But, if you can't forgive, you can't be forgiven. And we need to forgive, and we need to be forgiven. I am on a track, and I'm been an utter failure, and I don't predict that I'm going to become any kind of saint by any means. I'm just a simple person. This Christmas, I have decided that I want to work on my character. I want to be kind. I want to take on the sweetness and the compassion that I denied others all those years because I thought it was fake. It's through Jamie and Joe and interaction with my kids that I have seen where I have done the worst damage, and honestly, it's through them that I've learned how to do better. Villains in television shows. I was thinking about Mrs. Trunchbull today, that horrible, horrible, mean woman, and I was thinking, what did she go through that caused her to be such a mean person? Well, that doesn't justify wrong. She may have been tortured and tormented as a child, but that doesn't justify what she did wrong. And, rightly so, sometimes people will refuse you access to their life ever again when you've hurt them. Even though people should forgive, sometimes they just can't forget. Or they're so severely hurt and damaged that they just can't take it anymore. Well, while I seek forgiveness, I've had people in my life that, no, I don't want them back in my life. They hurt me too much. So I understand. December 27th, I am going to be 65 years old. I'm 5 years away from 70. And while I'm healthy and I'm somewhat healthy, and I plan to get healthier, my years on this earth are numbered. When you get to 65 years old, you start realizing that there's a timeline. And I can't make things right. I wish I was back 30 years old and I could just make it right. If you're 30 years old, try to make it right. I can do the best that I can do. And I can ask forgiveness. And where need be, maybe people will give me another chance. But I have been embarking on the journey of having the law of kindness in my tongue. Speaking sweetly. And realizing, that if somebody's acting out, it's probably because they got some hurt going on. And I try to find out where the hurt is. And see if I can calm and soothe their pain. And then maybe they won't act out. I'm sorry. I truly am sorry. I'm thankful to God that He softened my heart and He seemed to forgive me for all of my mean girl days. I truly do love people and I want to help. So, give me a minute here. Well, this has been a hard one, and I'm sorry I got emotional. But I am starting, finally, after a lot of years, to just have a lot of sweetness in my soul. And yeah, I struggle. I do struggle because I have disabilities and because I have, chronic PTSD and a lot of things going on, and I have a lot of tormenting memories. I have a lot of sweetness and happiness in my soul. I am going to move on from this subject just enough to let you know some of the things that I'm doing that are helping me. Ways that I'm going to be able to go forward, some of the systems and some of the things that I'm going to try to add more sweetness, joy, and goodness to my life. If you have watched any of my videos before, you must know that I'm a pretty emotional person and I cry pretty easy. My dad cried really easy, especially in his later years. So if you're a person that hates weakness, you probably hate to see me cry, or you probably think I'm being manipulative, but I'm not. They are real. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just touch on some of the things. I've already started on some of them, but some of the tactics, some of the things that I'm going to try to take on to my life to help me to just do better overall. Number one is stoicism, and I've talked about it a little bit, and I'm going to get into it even more. Number two is I am detoxing from my phone. This is huge because I have the inability to say no to the dopamine that comes from my phone. And, if I'm upset, I go to my phone. If I am bored, I go to my phone. Everything, I've just literally got my phone on my person all of the time. And I'm putting a stop to that. I created a little box to go on the wall in my kitchen. I'm going to keep the phone there unless I'm using it for work or I get a phone call. And I have it where it's charging. So it's going to be there. And I am no longer going to carry my phone in my pocket. I will use it for work. I will use it when I'm sitting at the computer because I'm using it for work. And I probably will keep it by my bed at night in case of an emergency. But other than that, during the day, it's staying on the wall. And I've uninstalled all the games. Family, friends, if you're watching, you can contact me by messaging me or calling me on Messenger, which I am on Messenger all of the time because that's also where I communicate with Jamie and Joe and different people that I know. So if it looks like my light's on all the time, that does not mean that I'm there. It just simply means that my phone's got Messenger on. But you can call me, You can message me or you can call me on Messenger. I am no longer going to have my phone on my person, because one of the other things that I'm going to do is I am going to get back into some of my old, I'm going to call it ambience of life. I am going to be taking on more hand tasks like sewing, crocheting, and doing things like that, making my own clothes. I have already started making home-cooked meals, which I always made home-cooked meals, but now they're more from scratch because we've changed our diet to whole foods. And so we're shopping the perimeter of the store, so we're getting fresh vegetables that have to be cooked, and no processed meats or anything like that. So I'm going to be cooking more. I am going to be doing some sort of gardening, even here in New Mexico, where the weather is completely unconducive to gardening, but I am going to do some gardening. I've not figured out exactly how, but I especially want to have fresh greens for salads. And as I've already mentioned, the law of kindness in my tongue, I am going to search out everything that I can learn in the Bible about kindness, gratitude, love, compassion, and understanding, just being understanding of other people's needs, and being patient, and realizing that of all sinners I am chief. But in doing all of these things, what I'm hoping is, because I do suffer from anhedonia, which means that a lot of times I don't have feelings, like I have a hard time feeling joy and happiness and all of that stuff. So I'm hoping a lot of that will help me, and it will restore into my life more nostalgia. The point of this video, maybe you can join with me on this journey of more goodness, more sweetness, more love, more compassion, and learning not to be harsh, not to be mean, and to appreciate those that are somewhat fragile, and appreciate those that maybe have some weaknesses, or maybe some that have just been like me and have learned to be tough and mean and everything, thinking that was the way to survive, when really on the inside there was a tender soul in there that just needed to be cultivated. So I hope you've enjoyed this. We will be back tomorrow with another video of Vlogmas. Tomorrow will be number 10. I give you all a big hug. My appreciation is with you.
Yeah.